Do a roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Here.
Mr. Schumar?
Here.
Mr. Carroll?
Here.
Mr. Morrell? Mr. Lax?
Here.
It's okay, I was just checking.
Okay, we received the minutes of our January 15th meeting. Had a chance to look at those. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I've got the minutes here. I've looked them over and I will make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Shannon makes the motion, Bob seconds it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Insurance Administration, Jennifer and Linda explain what we need to do here. We need to transfer responsibility to Linda from Jennifer. Is that what you want to do? Tell us. So,
It's going from self-insurance to whatever you guys made the motion on, and Linda does the HR, and that's really where health insurance should be. So she is going to take on the administration.
How many hours?
It's gonna be less hours for her. I mean, I spent a ton of hours on it. The self-insurance takes a lot more time, and I also did the nursing home, and she was doing accounting.
Okay. And you'll still be doing the nursing home?
No, the nursing home will be doing the nursing home.
Oh, that makes sense, okay.
Yeah, Jackie for the nursing home has been doing that already, their HR.
Jamie,
Is
you're
this an
doing
assignment or something you
Piatt.
volunteered for? I just didn't know.
I didn't volunteer.
You didn't know it either?
I did not volunteer. No, you guys decided this at a meeting when I wasn't here. I was on vacation, so. And Jennifer and I talked about it months ago, but that was months ago.
okay, and then is there another fund that Debbie you have to set up?
I'm going to set up another checking account in order to receive the deposits from the people that are enrolled in the insurance, and then a check will be written out of that to pay the premium. We've done that for the nursing home, and so we'll have a separate one for the county.
Do you need any action from this committee to do that?
No action, just your signature on the letter. The bank requires something to put in their file that authorizes me to open the account, so we'll have the chairman's signature on a letter to the bank.
So Debbie, has that transaction worked well with getting it set up with the nursing home and having the Health Alliance bills come in, or is that first one came in through you?
I won't see the activity until it's already occurred, and
Okay.
I've added a line on your monthly board report that will reflect the deposits and the expenditures, but it's gonna be an in and out account, so.
Right.
We don't have anything, I just received the statement and it's still at zero, so there's not been any deposits. We'll take the money in my office, receipt it, and take it to the bank like we do with the other deposits that are county funds. So, the account's idle at this point, the first one that we set up.
Will the self-insurance account then go away, or?
We'll finish processing everything that continues to come in, and I think eventually, like 6 months, and then we'll make the check out to close out the account to the treasurer. And then I believe there's still a line item that is health insurance,
For self,
self-insurance.
yes, there is.
And that's where it will go into.
So how much money will we need to leave in that account at that point? And does it need to take 6 months? I didn't know if after 30 days, any monies that needs to be paid.
It's gonna need to take a few months to close out.
Right.
Because really doctors have up to a year to submit claims, but I think 6 months should be sufficient.
Linda, are you okay with this change in addition to your duties?
It's fine.
You are okay?
It's fine.
Did we I didn't know we had gone past the discussion stage. Forgive me again because I'm advanced in years and my memory is not what it used to be. But I thought that there was going to be some additional compensation if we gave Linda more tasks than what she already does? Because I've seen her in here on weekends and
Well, I don't know whether, there's two things I don't know about our budget, and the other thing is we kind of froze everybody's wages this year, so, nobody got any increase. So that's,
I think that would be something to discuss when we revisit the budget at the later dates.
forgive me, if you realize that it's more hours and you're, I don't want you getting in bad health because you're overworking yourself. I know you will extend yourself like you're a very dedicated and loyal employee, and I appreciate very much the work that you do. Do not hesitate to come before this board, please, if you are spending more than just a few hours on, I don't know where you're gonna find time.
Okay.
I will ask you periodically, okay? Okay, thank you.
What kind of compensation was the county clerk receiving for taking care of this account
I
prior?
was not receiving anything,
Is
and
it-
I was doing both the nursing home and,
But that's something you've taken care of even when Colleen Kidd was here, is that correct?
pretty much.
That you took care of all the insurance, including CIRMA?
Well, I didn't really start doing CIRMA till Colleen left.
Okay. Is that something that's
And
in
that's not really that I take care of CIRMA, I send out the questionnaires to all the departments that I need to collect the information and
So
send
if
it on
we-
to CIRMA.
We have a CIRMA issue, it'd come to you still though? That's kind of what I'm trying to find out too. So if there's a compensation, that was in a job description, right, whenever you took this position as county
I don't know
clerk?
that it's in my job description, no.
No? Okay. I just trying to find out if we have to compensate somebody else for it. I do know each department head is pretty much taking care of all their employees anyway at this point. But I do know also one other point too is we do have a $50,000 check coming from Health Alliance, which is now in the hands of Insure Champaign. So that, directing that monies to go to, I assume our new health insurance will be making an initial deposit with that, once the account has been set up. And that will be for our run out and any claims towards it. And it could be anywhere in the neighborhood of $90,000 is what I've kind of foreseen in some of the past. So there will be a $40,000 right now at the maximum that will be withdrawn from our self-insurance funding, plus the $50,000, which will be installed into the next account as well. So I don't know how we want to move forward with that, where the check's going to come to, and who's going to be issuing that check, and to whom.
Well, Debbie, once you get the checking account all set up, at that point, could you reach out to the Insure Champaign who's holding the check, and then they can get it in the right hands to get it deposited into our new checking account?
I can, but I'm not really usually the recipient of the check. It's usually brought to us to receipt it and take it to the bank by another person. Yeah. I'm so sorry, that one. She's the one that should get it.
Okay.
So,
So once the account's set
Yeah,
up, you
I
can let
mean,
Linda know, then Linda can.
absolutely, we work together well. I'm so sorry about that. I had it turned off.
But that's why I say we do need to put in some kind of stipulation where the check's going to go, because that $50,000 will need to be put into our possession pretty quick here, so. As far as the minutes of the meetings reflecting this, that's how we're moving towards, to open up a separate account.
Yeah, and I just have a question for Elizabeth really quick. I was just going to use the letter, Elizabeth assisted me with the letter to have Ray sign for the first account we opened for the nursing home, and I was just going to use that same letter and tweak it to say Piatt County instead of Piatt County Nursing Home.
Yes, I think that's absolutely
Okay,
fine.
thank you.
Do we actually need a Piatt County nursing home account at this time? If we're going to this one insurance,
Well,
basically?
they have different start dates, and I am not in on the insurance information or the meetings or anything, but they did have different start dates. And so we had discussed it and thought that would be prudent to have two different accounts. That way that entity can handle their own, even though the deposits will come through me and we'll take them to the bank, they'll still issue their own checks for
So will
premiums.
there be receipts written for each individual Piatt trained mental health center? Well, it won't be mental health center, but say a nursing home, is that something that you can provide them with a receipt?
No, not theirs. They're different. They handle it differently.
I think Jackie would have that receipt.
Well, they're gonna have their.
You don't want it, you don't want it
Usually
with the
do
checks,
not
it's
do
like
this.
That
That has to be clarified as well.
Because we don't receive them out.
Okay,
We never have it.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to move these responsibilities to the HR function. Here to do today.
Do they have any more questions? Linda, did you have anything to add, or?
Move the responsibility from Jennifer to Linda. That's what if somebody wants to make that motion.
That's for the health insurance only, not CERMA.
I can't make the motion because I'm not totally clear what you wanted to say, Mr. Chairman. What kind of motion you want? I mean,
Well, that from moving forward, that the Linda Leach, the HR person, will be handling the insurance.
handling the what?
The insurance,
Health insurance.
health
That's their
insurance,
health
I'm sorry,
insurance.
health insurance, that's more specific.
And is it, just so I get the motion correct, it is just the health insurance for the courthouse staff? Because Piatt does theirs, mental health does theirs, right?
Good point.
So,
Would that also include the sheriff's office and the corrections?
yeah, okay, yes, courthouse insurance, okay.
So I can make that motion. So if somebody wants to second that.
Well, technically, along with that motion, it wouldn't be just the courthouse, because we do have some employees at the office building.
That's what we were just saying,
Yeah.
The
so,
office building,
Okay,
Retirees.
so I have.
and retirees.
I have, this is what I have right now, so please correct me if this is not right. The motion is to move insurance responsibility for the health insurance for the courthouse, sheriff, office building, and retirees to the HR department.
Yes.
How about circuit clerk? Is there gonna be circuit clerk as well? Definition?
It's courthouse.
All courthouse, you're gonna classify.
That includes the assessor,
And any
treasurer.
Any compensation will be under further review as well.
We'll look at that down the road.
No, I'm not making that part of my motion.
No, that's not part of the motion.
It's not part of it, but like I said, it's.
I'll second that motion that has been presented.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Abstain.
Mr. Latz?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Yes.
You forgot
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Brown.
Sorry, I'm still writing.
Okay.
Mr.
I think I must have
Morale?
called you that.
Sorry, Bob.
Thank you.
Circuit clerk salary, my understanding, Seth, you can fill us in, but my understanding is if we want to make a change, we have to do it now because the new term starts in December. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. I did send information to the board just on some salary comparisons. I would like to make something crystal clear that I am not asking for a raise. Those were simply for informational purposes only. And I'm leaving the rest of it to the personnel committee.
I'm open to discussion or comments on this, or motions, or whatever. I realize you just received this recently. We don't have to decide today. We've got time.
Is that to me?
I'm just, yeah, well, I guess,
I know that it's always been on the April county board agenda.
It is my understanding that it has to be 6 months prior to, and I'm not sure which one, or 6 months prior to the election or 6 months prior to the new term of office, which would be either November or December 1st when the new term starts.
It's my understanding that the resolution that you're working under now is dated April the 13th of 2016, and it went into effect December the 1st of 2016.
That's correct. So I,
This is
off of
March.
that, I would assume that it's December 1st, then,
Okay.
that would, or 6 months prior to would be the, when it needs to be done by.
180 days.
Yeah, okay.
That's 9 months, April. I just counted it out with my fingers. I did it very fast. Okay, April, so
It has to be
this month.
180 days before the election.
Is it before, I'm not sure if it's before the election or before the term starts. So, term starts. So,
So we leave it as is, or change, or raise it, or whatever, that's what we're here to talk about. So.
You can entertain a motion to address multiple salary concerns at the next month, the next called Personnel Committee meeting. I think I would give other department heads and employees time to get their ducks in a row, since,
Of course, those others wouldn't be time sensitive like this one is.
well, and, I know for the clerk and the county clerk and treasurer, those are already set through the end of their terms in 2022. So,
okay, thank you, I didn't realize, I remember that now.
Well, we're hoping our fiscal situation improves, but we're not sure where we are right now.
Because one more thing, Mr. Chairman, you included these different county names, you know, if you did a really nice little chart, but there are no dollar amounts for these, McLean County, Douglas County, Effingham County. You just have zeros down there, it means there's no discrepancy, but
correct.
it would give us something to work with for, comparison, apples to apples and oranges to oranges. If you were to change those zeros to an actual dollar amount, that would be, you could do that in just a couple of minutes, probably. I appreciate it very much. And if we got that prior to the meeting, shoot an email like you did this one, and bless your heart. Thank you, sir.
Sounds good to me.
So I make a motion to table this and to put it on next month's agenda.
Bob's made a motion, table.
And it will die for a lack of a second.
Seems.
So you're talking about next month's personnel committee meeting or next
Yes,
month's
sir. Next
regular
month's.
board meeting?
Personnel Committee.
Okay. Which would have to be before the April board meeting then. Right, to get it timely.
Well, if it has to be done 6 months prior, we could still do it in May, couldn't we?
Okay. Well, whatever the time limit is, yeah.
Is this salary something that's mandated by the state that we have to increase this, or is it just something we could vote, yeah, we could put a salary freeze on wages this year?
That's correct.
I don't know, have we discussed that during budgetary times, as we put a freeze on salaries?
We didn't formally do that,
We
no.
didn't formally do that.
We didn't give out any increases.
Like I said, that's, until we know our budgetary problems in August, we probably won't be, but
Right, and I'd need to look up the history as to why there was, the discrepancy started in 2014. You were on the board then, I think 2015, 2016. I just started in December of 2016, so you would have a better idea as to why there was a big jump in those years.
yeah, I really can't remember back in what happened
Okay.
then, but I know 14, there was a lot of different issues starting in, and then 2016 it become real issues, so.
So that's why I made the motion, gentlemen, so that some research could be done, could ponder it, we could look it up. So if someone could second the motion before it gets squashed completely.
I'll second it, Bob.
Motion, Shannon seconded, so.
Is there any other elected officials that are in the same time frame as yours that we need to look at? No. You're the only one that's not, okay.
So that on the opposite side is me on this one, on the opposite side would be the sheriff, treasurer, and county clerk.
Okay,
Is that correct?
so this is the only one that we
The
have.
state's attorney is set by the statute. I mean, we don't control that.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Do a roll call on that then, please.
Mr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Schumer?
No,
Mr. Latz?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes. Motion carries. And then, county clerk told me that if we want to change county board per diem, this was the time of year to change it. It's done in April, but I don't think there's any, I don't necessarily want to change, but it's up to you. If you want to change it, we do it at the April meeting. She says.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a point of order. It's my understanding that this board cannot address per diem changes until after the November election, and that would be the new board. That's to prevent the board from patting their own nest, I guess is the way to put it.
Well, I'd have to defer to.
I think the state's attorney might have some idea as to what I'm speaking to about.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I think you're right, but I'd like to be able to research that for sure. And then there's the other issue of the resolution fixing the compensation does not include the definition of meetings that is set forth in the Open Meetings Act, and I think it has to. So I think everything needs to be looked at. So if we could bring this up again in April, that would be good.
Okay, the one that I have, ma'am, is book 52, page 623. It's just a single page. That's the only thing I have to work on.
One from 2016.
From 2000, April 13th.
April 13, 2016, that's what I have
Which was
to.
approved by, I assume somebody from the state's attorney's office looked at that.
No, I don't think so. Dana and I checked through all of our records of the resolutions that we've worked on, and we don't have this one. I don't know where it came from.
There are only 2 current board members that were on the board back then, I think.
Well, I'm not sure that it matters. What I think does matter is that with the definition of meeting gets incorporated in this, so that it is clear for the board members and for the public of what actually is going to be compensated for.
I agree with that totally. We do need to clarify what actually determines to be a meeting and what is not a meeting. That's something that needs clarification too. So when we make that decision, I would like for that to have clarification.
Well, and I assume that the lawyers have written it because of the way it's written, it's above my pay grade. And it,
I would defer to the state's attorney's advice on this matter as well, to make sure we're within compliance with the way our resolution is written.
I'll give you the Open Meetings Act definition of meetings so that you can all take a look at that.
the Open Meetings Act definition, is that different from what we have?
You don't have a definition of meeting set forth in,
No, he's looking at it.
We've had this for over a year.
well, I think we're passing it out, you can see if it's the same one. I think it needs to be included in your resolution.
I believe it does too.
So this could be an attachment to our resolution simply, correct?
It could be, yes. But that's gonna change, but I think there's language that's gonna need to be changed, because there's language in your actual resolution that's not consistent with the Open Meetings Act definition of meeting.
No, we certainly don't have to act on this today.
It's just, like I agree with Shannon, just have the state attorney's office look at it and just be sure the language is what it needs to be.
Okay. Anything else?
And that can come back at our April meeting then? Okay.
But let me get clarity on that. That resolution would be looked at, reviewed, rewritten as needed, and then could be passed after in our November meeting after the new election?
I want to check into that. I think the answer is yes, but I want to check to make sure.
Okay.
You're not, again, forgive me, because I am a senior and I want to make, well, not make sure, but I want to have a better chance of understanding what it is you're saying. I don't see the Open Meeting Act being addressed on the agenda. I see executive session is on there, but is there an implication that we have been violating the Open Meetings Act? Is that where you're going with this?
No, not at all. I'm going with the Open Meetings Act because it defines meeting. And what the resolution is addressing is what meetings can be compensated for.
I see.
I am saying that, in my opinion, the resolution that you develop concerning the per diem rate and the allowed reimbursement has to be consistent with the definition of meeting. That's in the Open Meetings Act.
2016.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very
And
much.
I would just add that when we're compensated now, we have board meeting, committee meeting, other, so I don't know what other means, so
Well,
that may have changed.
And I think so, sir, if you're looking at the book 52, page 623, where it's set forth, it lists a number of the meetings. It says including but not limited to, and then it lists specifically Piatt County Mental Health, DeWitt Piatt Board of Health, other meetings that are specifically listed. But the problematic language to me is, as well as meetings with representatives, agents, or officers of other branches of local, state, or federal government, and for attendance at any other kind of meeting or function where attendance is called for by reason of membership of the Piatt County Board. That language is what I'm talking about, not consistent with what is in the Open Meetings Act, and that's what I want to look at to make sure that everything is legal.
That's fine. All right, so I don't need to take any action on that.
So if I march in the parade, I'm not getting paid for committee meeting? That's a
Yes.
little tongue-in-cheek, man.
Yeah, turn it in.
Steve, please, totally, it was a little levity, you know, just,
Kind of going out.
I don't want to go through that again, honestly. I can't help it.
Public comment? Sir, with that.
Good morning still, I think. I'm John Kraft. I want to address the county board member compensation. First, the compensation has to be set 180 days prior to taking the term of office. When you set new compensation, it only affects the people elected in November. And then 2 years from now, you set it again, it'll affect the people elected at that November. So you're gonna have, if you change the compensation level, dollar amount, then some board members are gonna get paid more than others. Your current ordinance, I believe, says payment per meeting. Is that correct? Because the county's code only permits payment per diem or annual salary, or a combination of the two. You can't have a per meeting payment. It violates the county's code, and you just can't do it. So my opinion, and we're just a watchdog group, we're not attorneys, my opinion is that your entire ordinance is invalid, and you should immediately, assuming that the dollar amount per meeting could be converted to a per diem, my opinion, you should immediately only submit a claim on one claim per day that you're in a meeting. So, and here's an example. Well, you had at least two meetings today. Some of you did. You can only claim one meeting attendance for today. And here's an example from January with the chairman. January the 2nd, 3 meetings, nursing home, building, ground, and claims. That should have only been one claim for reimbursement for attending a meeting, because the county's code says per diem which is per day, not per meeting. Then on the 3rd, there was 3 meetings. On the 6th, there's 3 meetings. 7th, there was 2. 8th, there was 2. 15th, there was 3. 16th, there was 2. 21st, there was 2. 22nd, 2. 23rd, 2. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 meetings that you got paid for that you shouldn't have got paid for. You can only get paid for 1 meeting per day, period. And we're going to get all the meetings that everybody submitted, and we're going to ask that you reimburse the county for all of those extra meetings per day that you submitted your claim for, because it can't happen. And ideally, you would all look at least for the past year, and figure out how meetings each of your board members individually attended and submitted a claim and received payment for that was more than 1 meeting per day, and do it on your own and cut a check back to the county. That's what each board member should do. But we're going to look at all of them, and we're going to inform you guys how much we think you owe the county.
So in your opinion, what would you think if the difference between having multiple meetings on one day opposed to setting new policy where we had 1 meeting per day? What would be the difference? The difference would be, I'll tell you, is mileage would be a lot cheaper because you'd be coming to multiple meetings at one time while we're at the courthouse.
The difference is it would comply with the law.
Right, and we want to comply with the law.
That's the big difference. If you had 3 meetings a day, you can only get paid once. Or you can keep your 3 meetings a day and only get paid once, instead of intentionally scheduling out for 3 separate days just to get 3 separate checks. It's entirely up to the board. Certainly it's more convenient to sit here for 3 hours for 3 separate meetings than to come here 3 separate days for 1 hour each. But if the intent is to be efficient, especially efficient with public funds, you would schedule 3 meetings in 1 day and get paid for 1 meeting. But if the intent was to bolster your paychecks, you would schedule a 1 hour meeting on 3 different days.
Anybody else?
Yeah, my name's Kirk Allen. Chairman, I wrote the article in regards to the compensation, and and you don't have to answer, I understand, and I do appreciate the question from the board member. It always helps to get communication, but by no means do you have to answer this. But why is it you submit a claim for meetings that were canceled?
Oh, that was a mistake, an error on my part, and I reimbursed the county for that.
You have reimbursed the county?
Yes, I have.
Okay, have you reimbursed for any other meetings that were not attended?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so you don't have any other meetings that you were paid for that you didn't
Not that I'm
attend?
aware of.
Not that you're aware of? Okay, is a phone call a meeting? Did you reimburse that?
I'm not going to answer any more questions.
Okay, and the reason I ask, it's not a meeting. It's a phone, you had a phone conference with someone and you turned in a claim. You went to a class and you turned in a claim. That's not even remotely close to what your compensation resolution setting is. And just looking at 1 month, we identified those things. And there's plenty more that we've identified. And I appreciate that you paid it back. It's an acknowledgement that it was wrong, but as a chairman of the county, how in the world do you overlook a claim for a meeting you never attended? That's pretty ironic. In normal circumstances, I'd say, hey, it's an oversight, no big deal, but in light of the fact that you've been indicted for some matters, and then what I found, I think a resignation would be appropriate. The one thing we've always asked is says who with what proof. We encourage people to get an answer and to make sure that the answer is accurate. There's been some good questions asked up here. Most of them are all in the Illinois state statutes that answer the question. The compensation setting resolution, it's in the Local Government Act. It's under 50 ILCS. It specifically spells out when to do it, the time frame, all the details. The answers are there, but what we find is more often than not, folks aren't reading. This morning, this is a committee meeting, this morning there was a motion made, I'm assuming in regards to shifting these duties, is that a motion now that goes to the whole board to make at a county board meeting?
It's my understanding that it is.
I don't know whether that is a final action, that now those are her duties, and the reason I ask is because committees are advisory committees. They don't have power to act in that capacity. They have to bring things back to the whole county board to make those kind of decisions, and it sounded like we made a decision here that now those duties shifted based on what this committee said. And the reason that's a concern, I'm assuming the blank spots, or at least a couple of them, are board members that aren't here because they're not on the committee. They've had no say-so in an action that affects the county. And that's why committees don't have the power.
No, this committee is the entire board.
This is a committee.
Yeah, committee of the entire board.
We have one that's not here on vacation.
Okay, so this is a county board meeting, not a committee.
This is a personnel committee meeting.
Exactly, which if it's a committee meeting, even though it's the same people, this is a committee meeting, people may not come to a committee meeting, they're waiting to go to a county board meeting. Because county board meetings are where the action is taken to do those type of things. And it's a procedural matter. And we see more often than not, procedurally, people will do things in committee just because it's convenient, get it done and do it. But procedurally, that's not the way it's supposed to be done, even though it's the same people in the seat. The public body right here is a committee. Under the Open Meetings Act, you are a public body as a committee. If you start to do county board business, because you're all county, you constitute a majority of a quorum, then it crosses the line into what would be called an unpublished county board meeting. So if you take the position you did this as a whole county board, then you violated the Open Meetings Act. And that's why there's that separation that has to be there, because otherwise it's chaos. That's all I got. Thank you.
Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Was there a need for executive session? I saw that was on the agenda.
Making a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Shannon makes the motion. Do I hear a second on that?
I will second the
I'll
motion to
second
adjourn.
it. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Adjourn. Thank you.